Yeah, I'm good. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Cape Coral Youth Council. Today's date is April 29th, 2022. This meeting will now come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, Chair. Before I call the roll, I would like to announce that Member Blackwell has requested to be excused, and I will mark her so. Bernal?
Present.
Brucker?
Present.
Lynn?
Present.
McMillan?
Present.
McMonagle Hall?
Present.
Osinski?
Present.
Reamer?
Present.
Rodriguez?
Present.
Young?
Present.
Zadowitz?
Present.
10 present, 1 excused.
Next is item 4, approval of the agenda or changes to the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda for the April 29, 2022 meeting as presented? Member Bernal?
I motion to adopt the agenda for the April 29th meeting as presented.
Can I have a second? Reamer?
I second the motion.
Bernal made the motion and Reamer made the second to approve the agenda for the April 29, 2022 meeting as presented. Is there any discussion? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, Chair. Bernal?
Aye.
Brucker?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
McMillan?
Aye.
McMonagle Hall?
Aye.
Osinski?
Aye.
Reamer?
Aye.
Rodriguez?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
Zadowitz?
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried.
Next is item 5, approval of minutes. The meeting minutes for March 4th, 2022 were attached to your meeting material and emailed as backup material for preparation. Do we have a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from March 4th, 2022 as presented? Bernal?
I motion to adopt the meeting minutes from March 4th, 2022 as presented.
Can I have a second? Osinski?
I second the motion.
Bernal made the motion and Osinski made the second. Is there any discussion? We will now take a voice poll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Madam, that's not on there, sorry about that. Meeting minutes for March 11, 2022 were attached to your meeting material and emailed as backup for your preparation. Do we have a motion to adopt the meeting minutes for March 11, 2022 as presented? Bernal?
I motion to adopt the meeting minutes from March 11, 2022 as presented.
Can I have a second? Zadowitz?
I second that motion.
Bernal made the motion, Zadowitz made the second. Is there any discussion? We will now take a voice poll vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carried. The meeting minutes for March 25th, 2022 were attached to your meeting material and emailed for backup. Do we have a motion to adopt these meeting minutes for March 25th, 2022 as presented? Zadowitz?
I motion to adopt the meeting minutes for March 25th, 2022 as presented.
Can I have a second? Brucker?
I second that motion.
Zadowitz made the motion and Brucker made the second. Is there any discussion? We'll now take a voice poll vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion's carried. The meeting minutes for April 8th, 2022 were attached to your meeting material and emailed for your preparation. Do we have a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from April 8th, 2022 as presented? Osinski?
I motion to adopt the meeting minutes from the April 8th, 2022 meeting as presented.
Can I have a second? Bernal?
I second that motion.
Osinski made the motion and Bernal made the second. Is there any discussion? Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, Chair. Bernal?
Aye.
Brucker?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
McMillan? McMonagle Hall?
Aye.
Osinski?
Aye.
Reamer?
Aye.
Rodriguez?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
Zadowitz?
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is item 7, advisor presentation. I will now open the floor for any advisor updates or presentation.
Madam Chair, upcoming for the City Council meetings, first at the next Committee of the Whole meeting, it will be the, yes?
Yes.
Okay, Committee of the Whole meeting will be the irrigation ordinance. What this does, in essence, is create a system of rules and regulations to try to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of irrigation systems so they don't take so much in the way of water. I think the efficiency rating now is somewhere below 50%, and you'd want to raise it to up above to 75%, 70%. Why this is important is it's pretty interesting because just this week the city started pumping from its reservoir in South Charlotte County, pumping 13 million gallons of water a day out of that reservoir down here to augment the canals, which augment the irrigation system, so the canals in North Cape Coral don't go dry. I say why this is important for you, because if we don't get this under control, the 55 million gallons a day that we originally thought at build-out we would use in the irrigation system will be far greater than that, and we will not have a source for that. So all the time, effort, and money we put in to put this system in place to give us the ability to irrigate our properties and keep us as green as possible will not be feasible. So it's a very important issue, and one that's going to definitely land in your laps in the future. I think the City Council is contemplating, right now they take the water from South Charlotte and they pump it into Gator Slough in the open ditches along South US 41 between South Punta Gorda and here, and it flows down the ditches into Gator Slough and then into canals. That's not really an efficient, effective way in open ditches. So eventually they would put in a pipeline, which I also think is close to $20 million, if they were continue to do that. So it's just, I mean, it's a lot of money that's going into this infrastructure that we may be able to take a bite out of some of those capital expenditures if we were to put in an ordinance that would curtail some of the water we are presently not using as efficiently and effectively as we should with the existing irrigation. Anyone have any comments or questions about that? Yes.
I might have missed it, but what day is this meeting?
Oh, it's the
May 11th.
May 11th, the workshop, committee of the whole meeting, will be the initial discussion on that. This has been bouncing around the city for 5 to 7 years. Nobody has actually taken it up to the City Council. Councilmember Hayden has had the foresight to at least bring it to a public debate, and this will be, I believe, the second time it's come, or the first time?
First time.
First time as an ordinance. It's been discussed as an idea.
Yeah.
But this will be the first time as an ordinance coming to in front of a public discussion. So it's a pretty big deal. Just to show you how much water we are consuming. On the days that we're not supposed to be irrigating, we pump over 9 million gallons of water through the irrigation system. And we're not supposed to be using it at all on certain days of the week. So that's a huge amount of natural resources that we're consuming, and we're not doing it really well. So this is a way, I mean, it's going to be expensive. Everything we do with water is expensive. I mean, everything we've done with water to date, the RO process rather than the lime treating plant, the advanced treatment for the water so we can reuse it with our wastewater plants, the interconnect with Fort Myers so we can take their wastewater to augment our wastewater. These are all millions and millions of dollars. We have spent over $500 million on the irrigation system to date, both making it the ability to distribute it to every house and the ability to actually try to get as much. So it's a huge number that we need to get a handle on. The second thing I'd like to tell you, in the week of May 16th through the 20th, the Urban Land Institute, which is a international nonprofit organization that helps cities with planning, will be coming down to Cape Coral and doing on-site the second phase of their strategic planning for the city. They have picked up where the University of South Florida has left off with this, and this will be specifically more in line with future land planning rather than strategic planning, but it's going to be a strategic land plan concept as to where we are now, where do we need to go as we are approaching build-out. I mean, build-out is coming faster and faster every year. When I sat up on the dais, it was 2050 before we would hit the 400,000+ people for build-out. I think now it's about 2035.
Well, they're saying 2080, but I'll disagree with that one.
If the numbers continue to go the way they are now, it would be.
Yeah.
So anyway, if we grow, we continue to go to 5 to 8% a year, which when we were smaller, that was a reasonable number. We're still growing 5 to 8% a year with 200,000 people as the base. That's going to expedite our growth to build out much quicker. So unless something drastic happens with the economy, which it could, but if you look from Cape Coral from its original groundbreaking 1958 to today, it's been a pretty consistent growth of 5 to 8% a year, irregardless of the population and irregardless of the ups and downs with the economy. The straight line has been to 5 to 8% a year as a percent of growth. And as the numbers get bigger, the population growth gets bigger. I don't have to tell you, if you've been driving around, you definitely can recognize there's a lot more people on the roads in the last couple of years than what has been prior to. And the interesting thing from my perspective, that I'm going to work with the ULI, I've been asked to work with them, from my perspective is that the day after Easter, the roads would free up. And in the summertime, you could play sports in the roads in Cape Coral. There was nobody in it. So now there's hardly, Easter, we didn't see much of a drop off at all. Now it's been a week or so, and it's just now starting to drop off. But the drop off of 30% of trips is probably not going to be experienced like it used to be. We're having a lot more year-round residents than we had before. So how we deal with that is going to be pretty interesting. So once again, this is an issue that you're going to have to deal with. I mean, these are issues right now that the city is trying to get their arms around, but how they look forward for the next 20 years is going to be how we address these issues. Whether it's 2035, 2050, or 2080, the next 20 years is going to be important, because it's going to be the build out of the utility system. It'll be the build out of the last improvements to river crossings. In 20 years, both bridges will be 6-lane. There'll be no more. And in the next 20 years, if we don't make the changes in land use to provide jobs here, transportation gridlock will be the limiting factor to growth of the city. When the trip across the river in the morning and coming back at night becomes longer than an hour and a half, people will choose to go somewhere else. It's 45 minutes now, so it's got to double in time. I mean, it's not like it's an emergency, but when it gets to an hour and a half for going to work and coming back, that starts limiting growth. So, but this something's going to be in your lap. So it really would be interesting. Some of the meetings are at City Hall. Some of the meetings are at the Westin. So the ones at City Hall, pay attention, go to the website, see where they are, and just, you may want to tune into those to see what they're discussing. That's it.
Somebody from up here participating in that too?
Oh, yeah. So I was actually reached out to by Nita, and she asked me to ask a few other people if they wanted to, so I just
So
contacted.
that's good. A couple of you will be playing?
Yep.
Good, good. Be honest as all heck with ULI when you do your individual interviews. Tell them, don't hold back. Tell them exactly what you think and what you want and what your fears are.
Kind of like you did at the joint meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
That
you guys,
type of honesty will be
it'll be
really
helpful.
important.
That's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any other updates?
Yeah, just to follow up on what Mr. Mazurkowitz said, and this kind of goes to what we talked about at the joint meeting and how we're going to move forward maybe in a different direction with the next Youth Council. Sorry, seniors. And that's things that will impact you in the future. And if you're living here in 20 or 30 years, and the irrigation ordinance definitely goes to that. We have over 1,200 miles of impaired waterways in the state of Florida, and each community needs to do their part for environmental preservation and water conservation. The reason this particular ordinance is important, when you're only watering at 30% efficiency, a lot of the water you're using is going on to impervious or paved areas, and that goes in that stormwater runoff, and those nutrients, those flow into our canals, and that's what kills our sea life and affects our marine life and can cause green algae blooms. So this particular ordinance will be, once it's in place and once we do all the education that's needed, will require new construction to properly install the irrigation systems and for them to be inspected and permitted in the right way. So it is a game-changing ordinance for our environment, and it's something that we want you all to be involved with as we move forward with the education of it, especially for existing homes that are already here and what they can do to properly install the irrigation system to get them to 70% efficiency. So this particular ordinance, this was a big one for me. We've been working on it intensely for the last 17 months, getting the Cape Coral Construction Industry Association together, irrigation experts and staff, so we've really asked for a lot of buy-in on that. We're really close to getting everybody to support this. So May 11th will be, committee of the whole, a discussion. Hopefully in the next month or so, it'll come to a vote, and we can move forward. There'll be an 18-month education process before the ordinance will go into effect, at least the way the ordinance is written now. So we want to give time, not only to the building industry, but to educate existing residents on how important this is. And Mr. Mazurkowitz is right about traffic and how the ULI will factor into that, and your opinions will be incredibly important. And I think you'll enjoy being a part of that. So that's it.
Thank you. Is there any other updates, questions? All right. Next on the agenda is item 8, citizens input. This consists of input of citizens on matters concerning city government, 3 minutes per individual. Council will listen to all speakers and respond after all speakers have made their presentation. I will now read the Pledge of Civility. We will be respectful of each other even when we disagree. We will direct all comments to the issues. We will avoid personal attacks. Citizens input is now open. Members of the public, please come forward to the podium. Please state your name clearly for the record. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, citizens input is now closed. Next is item 9, recommendations to council. So in the ordinance, it says that we should make presentations on the first day of October, January, March, and May of each year. So obviously this upcoming month is May. So we need to pick a date in which we can do that. So would any of the advisors like to tell me when an upcoming meeting is with the council that would be okay to speak at? Third, maybe? Okay. Is there any objection to picking June 1st as the date for the quarterly report? Okay.
Madam Chair, before you go any further, remember, it'll be the juniors who will be acting as the seniors, and the seniors will be stepping aside, won't be participating in this presentation, because for all practical purposes, your term will have expired as a senior. So those of you who are juniors up here now, you will have to take the lead in this report.
Okay. So for the juniors, does that work for everybody? That will be a Wednesday. I would suggest that you write it down if you have paper, or if you need a pen, ask your neighbor, so that way we have a good group there and we show up and show out, so that way we don't look silly. Request that off of work if you need to, guys. That should be good notice.
And you seniors are welcome to come and watch, but I would suspect it's probably more appropriate for the juniors to be making the presentation.
Mm-hmm. And then I've had this written in my script for a while to pick people to take notes of the current events, and then we also will need to pick a person to make the presentation. I'm not completely sure, honestly. My memory's a little foggy since it's been about a month since I've written this. I don't think we've picked anyone for either of those, right? Okay. So is there a volunteer willing to take note of events that have happened since the last quarterly report and just make a list of those? Any of the juniors willing to do that? Zadowitz? All right, so I'll write you down for that. And then, is there anybody volunteering to be in charge of the slideshow presentation? Bernal? Okay. All right,
I just have a quick question.
what's up?
Would you like it to be in a similar I guess, theme or style as the previous presentation, or can we mix it up a little bit?
You can make it fun if you want. I mean, it's up to you guys. Just obviously keep it like professional, which I know you're good with.
And Madam Chair, I would recommend you use the same format as you used last time. It just changed the text.
And then might I ask, who was it? Member Osinski that made the previous presentation? Was it on Google Slides, or is there any way that you could share it with me?
It's on Google Slides, but I also have it downloaded as a PowerPoint, so I can do either way. I could just email it to you.
I know at least like my school, I primarily use Google Slides. So if you wouldn't mind sending that over to me through Google Slides, I can make a copy of the presentation so we can still preserve what we have, and then I can follow the same format in showing what we
Okay,
did.
I'll just get your email after, and I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys for being.
And Madam Chair, just the other last thing for that is just anyone else wishing to join Member Bernal in making the presentation of the juniors?
Anyone want to be your buddy for this? One of my juniors.
Member Reamer?
Reamer? Gotcha.
Yeah, I can send my help if you need anything.
Thank you.
Thank you for volunteering for that.
My only, sorry, I keep interrupting you. My only request is that if you're not actively involved in making the presentation, if you want to share any photos or information from any of the events, just so I can make sure to have the best documentation of it, that would be helpful. So, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you guys for all volunteering in that and being so active and wanting to help. It is appreciated.
Chair Young, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I'd like to make a couple recommendations here too. I'd like to put a drop dead date as to when I need the presentation by so that we can make sure we get it on the correct agenda. So for purposes, I'm looking at the next, so we can probably make corrections all the way up to May 27th because that'll be our second meeting in May. So Vice Chair Bernal, maybe have it to me no later than May 25th, Wednesday. That way it'll give us time to upload it to the agenda. I mean, if you can have it to us sooner, we'd appreciate it. But that's like the actual drop dead time that I would need it by. Definitely. Okay, perfect.
Any other member input on that? All right. Next is business item 10A, annual project Spring Gala continued discussion. So I'm going to open the floor on this, and we're going to do a little exercise, if you will. But I'm going to go down the dais, and I need everybody to tell me one thing about the gala that they think went really well, and one thing that they think could be improved on for next time. We'll start with Brucker.
Well, first off, I think the food was great. That was definitely one of the best things there, but also being with my fellow congregants was also good. However, one thing that I think should be improved, I didn't really think anything needed to be improved.
Okay. Lynn?
So agreeing with Brucker, I also thought the food was great, and I also like how the event, can you guys hear me? Oh, okay. So I said agreeing with Brucker, I also thought the event was great, and then the food was good, and I also enjoyed hanging out with the fellows, and I thought it gave us a great bonding time between the youth council members, at least for me personally, because I did not know most of the people on the council. And then as for improvements, I don't really have any thought on that.
McMillan?
I think that a lot of the ideas that went into what we wanted the event to be were good, the ideas of community, but a lot of those things didn't play out exactly the way that we wanted to, and I think it just, again, has to deal with like members taking the responsibilities that they were given at meetings seriously and getting the live music, getting the art pieces, not leaving that to Miss Grigglin to do the week before. I know that we've talked about it a lot, and it's hard to truly like get that in everyone's heads all the time, but definitely making sure that we follow through with every single plan, because even though the idea of intertwine was on, I guess, our posters and when we were telling people, but when you actually got to the event, it didn't feel like that as much.
Thank you. McMonagle Hall?
I really liked the events there. Like thought the art gallery was really nice and a good touch, and also the photo booth and the DJ. One thing that I think we can improve on was I didn't see as much youth there as I saw at the last one. So maybe trying to improve attendance just to get more people there. So like maybe better advertising and things like that.
Thank you. Osinski?
I think the rally baskets went really well. I think a lot of people enjoyed them and had like a lot of fun, like drawing the names and like seeing who won that. One thing I think we could improve on is next time I would like to leave a little more time for dancing. Like I know we didn't have really a lot of time, so it ended up being like only like about 15 minutes we had left to dance. So I think it'd be more fun if we left more time to do stuff like that.
Thank you. Bernal?
I definitely really appreciated the opportunity to branch out and go into the community and actually have an event and plan it and do ourselves and execute it together. I think it looked amazing. I would have loved to have some more decorations. I apologize, the arch that I had planned on bringing broke and was unrepairable before we could bring it back. I lent it for one of our state student government rallies, and another school had some difficulties moving it. So I was unable to bring it to the event. The major thing that I really wanted to look into for next year is I appreciated the student art in the gallery, but I would love to find a venue that could maybe, highlight it a little bit more. I felt like the fact that you kind of had to go into a back room to go see it, maybe if there was some way we could display it like as you enter, would highlight the talent a little bit more. I just felt like because it was a little hidden and out of the way, it wasn't as significant. It wasn't as on display. So I think that could be a simple way for us to display it next year, or us to make it better next year. But I overall think it was a great event, and I was proud of us. So.
Thank you. Reamer?
I thought the decorations were great, and the whole event went great. Personally, I thought it was amazing. I feel like, going back to what McMillan said, a lot of what we had planned could have been more. I feel like if we had a little more member participation and getting the art out there, or like advertising, it could have had more, but it was good.
Thank you. Rodriguez?
Yeah, I think overall it was pretty good, and I did like the idea of the art stuff, and I do also think that we should be more like prepared next time when it comes to like getting stuff like the art and other things like that.
Thank you. Zadrowitz?
I think the event overall went pretty good. I think the food choice was the best we could have done. I definitely think, I agree with McMillan and McMonagle Hall. We should have kind of advertised it more at our high schools and brought more of like our students there, I think, because that would have brought more youth to the event. And I definitely think we should have prepared more.
All right. Thank you, guys. So the reason I wanted to do that exercise is because I feel like after an event, we never really kind of like recoup and sort of review. And I think that in the future, a strategy like that, an exercise, something similar, can help you guys to figure out what you want to make out of the events. Because at the end of the day, they are what we make them. And they're not going to get better or worse unless we have an effect on that. So my feedback on that is I completely agree with the fact that there wasn't enough student participation there. And with advertising, I think that we kind of fell back on that, and our responsibilities as a group kind of got twisted into something they didn't need to be. I think that in the future, there needs to be a better system almost for making sure people are fit for their responsibilities. I get it, we're all busy people, but if there's something that you feel like you can't do that you've undertaken, you guys need to feel comfortable to be able to communicate that to either the chair, the vice chair, to Connie, to Mr. Hayden, Mr. Mazurkowitz, somebody who can help you redistribute that responsibility, because like we said, there's a lot more we could have got out of this event that didn't happen because we couldn't complete a lot of the things we wanted to. That's kind of all I have to say on that. I'm gonna give this paper to Connie after I'm done, so that way she can have it and do what needs to be done with it for next year. Macmillan?
I just wanted to add on that I really did enjoy how at the end there we kind of broke things up, like you do music, you do art, you do catering, and although that was good in theory, it was kind of disappointing to see members come back to a meeting 2 weeks later and say, oh, I never heard back, and not really mention that they tried any follow-up or anything within the 2 weeks in between our meetings. I think that it's important, if you're going to take on that responsibility, that it's something that you're keeping up with every single day. And if you come back to a meeting and say, I haven't heard back from any of the high school principals, then, and it's probably pretty clear that you haven't been trying hard enough for that responsibility, and at a certain point, we, like you guys as a council would have to evaluate, okay, they didn't do anything over the last 2 weeks, we should hand that over to someone else immediately to hope that they can get the desired outcome. So I was disappointed to hear a lot of people come back and they had only contacted everyone once over the 2 weeks and not heard anything back. So that is just something that I would like to add.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that if you're going to undertake a responsibility, I feel as though it's almost completely unacceptable to come back, like Claire said, 2 weeks later, saying that you haven't heard anything. I've said it before, I'll say it again, we are all very busy people. That's why we like to do this, because we're those types of people who feel like they can handle things like this, and we like to have that responsibility. But part of that is following through on your responsibilities and getting the things done that need to be done. I know that this isn't maybe on your main agenda for your day because we only meet twice a month, sometimes only once a month because of absences, and it's hard to put this at the top of your to-do list, but it's very important, and I feel as though there are a lot of people who have been not personally affected, but who do take it to heart when things don't get done. I will say, like, I am one of them. I care a lot about this council and about you guys, and it is very disappointing when a member comes back and hasn't completed their responsibility or hasn't found any more information. And I just know that you guys have a lot more potential than that, and I hope that in the future I can see that growth, and you guys can take some of these improvements and implement them in the future, and just get better for everyone. Is there any other member discussion on that? Alrighty. Ms. Griglin?
Thank you, Chair Young. A couple things that I want to mention. I think it's very important that we talk about who's going to write thank you letters to our sponsors. That's a key part in, raising the money and thanking them for what they've donated to us. So, yeah, I would just start off with that. And then second of all, I do want to let you know that I did reach out to the director of Blessings in a Backpack, Miss Cecilia St. Arnold, and she is going to be attending our May 13th meeting. Obviously, the seniors are more than welcome to attend and sit in the audience, because we will be presenting her with a check at that time. Thank you.
Thank you. So the thank you letters, I know that Ms. Griglin, you had texted me and Member Bernal about doing it. I definitely can do some of them, but I don't think that splitting it by 2 is the most efficient way. If I could get one more volunteer who would want to help out with that, there's no specific format or anything yet, but I guess I can make one and then share it with Member Bernal and the other member to assist with that. Is there anybody who would like to do that? It'd be about 3 or 4 letters. Rodriguez, thank you. All right, so I will be in contact with you over Outlook about that, and along with you, Member Bernal, I'll create an email for that. And what's the date we need those done by, Ms. Griglin?
I would say obviously sooner than later.
Okay.
It's already been a month out, so as soon as you guys can obviously get them to me, whatever format you choose, that's fine. They can choose their own. I'll put it on letterhead, and then if you come back on hopefully May 13th, I'll have them ready and signed. So that's the absolute, date, at least 2 days before the May 13th meeting, so that I can get them on letterhead and make them all nice.
Okay, so since May 13th is the absolute latest, I'm gonna say May 10th we should have them done by. Does that work for you guys? Okay, perfect. So I'll be in contact with you guys about that. Is there anything else? Any other discussion?
Sorry.
You're good.
I would just like to say I'm still having difficulty logging into my Outlook.
Okay.
I semi-recently I got a new phone number, and it's your account is verified through your phone number, and so if I can't log in unless I verified that I'm myself, but I'm not myself's old phone number. So I have tried to call like Cape Coral tech support and things like that. It's been very difficult with ACE testing and everything going on to get in there while the office is still open and everything. So I just want to make sure that I can
Just
do
communicate with me via text then.
Okay.
That way I'll know that you still need assistance, and then I'll get together with Chair Young and we'll make sure you have the information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then for getting me the letters, I think worst case scenario, you can send them to me through Google Docs, but I'll reach out to you with other means because you can't get into your email.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Anything else? Any other member discussion on that? All right, moving along, we have item 10B, 2022 FLC Youth Council Community Service Contest continued discussion. Okay, so I'm gonna open this one, not with the same activity, but the one thing I wanna say about this is that when we as a council set a date to do something, and we have a vote in a discussion on which day works for people, it is expected that many more members come than what we've had in the past. It's happened a lot, actually, with our events this year. It happened with the Guardian Angel fashion show, too. Like I said, I know you guys are busy, but if we're picking a date months in advance, even a month in advance, that should be enough notice to give your school or your workplace notice that you can't make it in that day or you can't make it until after a certain time. I never expect anybody to completely not go to work because of something or miss a school event. Like, those types of things are understandable, but it kind of just looks really bad when it happens all the time, and it's kind of the same people each time. And I'm not judging anybody for their own personal lives or choices, but I think that in the future, you guys should take that and understand that people do notice when you don't show up to things, and I don't think it's right that you sit up here and get the validation from being up here and get to call yourself a member if you're not going to do member duties. That's not a threat or anything. I just think that you guys, it's just sad. Like I said, I care a lot about you guys, and it like hurts my feelings when you guys don't show up to things you said you would. And it honestly just wastes a lot of people's times. Mr. Hayden and I have talked about this before. It's just like more disappointing than anything because we care about you guys and we want everyone to succeed up here, and the only way to succeed is to set yourself up for that. And I try to give you guys like a month notice to, plan things out, but just like the last minute dropping out of things or saying that you can't come the day of, it's, no offense guys, it's just gotta stop. Like, you guys need to get better next year, and I know you guys can do it, but it's just like really not acceptable to be acting like that, and for only 3 members to show up to an event where we're supposed to be representing our youth council. For example, our joint meeting, 5 members came. That was our chance to show the council and to show, honestly, the whole city who we are and what we're representing and what we want to get out of this. And it's just kind of embarrassing at that point when we only have 5 people show up. So I just want everyone to get better for next year. I say that out of love because I care about everyone here. And you guys obviously want to be here. You guys come to the meetings, and you guys signed up for this, so you guys should make the most out of it. But as for the community service contest, I don't really have much else to say other than what I've said about that. We did turn in the FLC project. We haven't heard back from that yet, right?
Ma'am.
Okay. So I'm assuming you guys will hear back about that sometime over the summer or probably the beginning of next school year. I think that after we made the changes that Member Osinski made to the essay, I think that we incorporated it and we kind of saved it, but it just kind of sucks that we had an original plan and we couldn't go off that because we didn't have enough participation and things like that. And I hope you guys just like take that as an example of we've talked about planning and responsibility here, and that goes along the same thing. I really think you guys want to be here, and everyone's here today pretty much, so I just hope that for next year you guys work on that and the responsibility and making sure you actually can come to things you say you can come to. Is there any discussion on the FLC project? McMillan?
Again, I just kind of wanted to go off of the same thing. Even if you're just on this council for putting something good on your resume, it shouldn't matter, because if you're ever talking to a future employer or an interviewer for colleges, if you can't go on a 10-minute rant about what you've done for the council, just having it written on a piece of paper isn't going to prove anything to anyone. Just being able to write it down and submit it somewhere isn't going to impress anyone unless you can say what you've done and how you did it. Just being able to say that you were on this council, although is an honor, doesn't mean as much to the person that can write down every little thing that they did, how they helped, when they helped, and that they proved that they could make this a time commitment. And it does show when you get into your job and your college applications. It shows whether or not, if they want you on their campus or in their position, whether or not you have shown that you can put that time commitment in and you can explain what you did. So just want to put that one out there.
Thank you. Is there any other member discussion on that? My last thing is just going to be repeating myself. I really just hope that the juniors up here take what we've talked about today to heart and you guys make those changes, because I'm not trying to come at you guys with any negative tone at all, but it is frustrating when a lot of things fall back on me and they fall back on Connie and Mr. Hayden and the other advisors because of stuff that we can't complete. And it is kind of just, we're supposed to be doing the work, guys. Like, it's not supposed to be on them. And I just really know you guys want to do better, so hopefully in the future we can just make those improvements. Any other member discussion on that? All right, moving along, we have item 10C, joint council meeting, continued discussion. I'll open the floor up for any member discussion. Brunel?
I completely agree with everything that you said, and I think that I guess the biggest eye-opener to me was the joint meeting. It was an amazing opportunity for us to showcase everything that we've been working towards to the council, and I was kind of disappointed in the lack of participation. I am, however, I'm not going to keep lecturing because we all know like what exactly we were talking about and how we want to improve for next year. I am, however, very excited about the prospect of what this means for next year as far as scheduling more meetings and, you know, moving forward, because I can't keep like lecturing about the past, but all of the things that are going on and what we can, and our role in all of that. I'm excited to contact some of the council members. I know Ms. Tate mentioned coming to North and talking to some of our student leaders about civil service and that kind of thing. So there's a lot out there for us, and I believe that our council members are really eager to try to help us be the best that we can be, and I think that joint meetings are definitely that platform where we can reach out into that outlet for us to really see what's available. So I think that there were a lot of things that we just didn't even have any concept of that could be a prospect for us, and we learned a lot. I definitely was excited about the discussion about maybe bringing a university to our area. If you weren't there, that was just, I'm not sure how to explain the entire conversation because it was very lengthy, but I was very excited by some of what the council had to offer and some of their ideas. It was very interesting, so.
Osinski?
After the joint council meeting, we were approached with the idea of next year by, I believe, 2 council members, of rather than just focusing merely on projects, by trying to like help solve issues in the community and function more as a board rather than maybe a club or something. And I think next year that I would really like to go off of that format that was suggested at that joint council meeting, where we did incorporate less projects and instead embarked on trying to function more as a city member and a representative of the city and solving issues within the city. So I think next year I'd really like to closen our bond with city council and just keep working with them and bouncing off their suggestions, because I would really like to see those changes made, and I think it was really valuable insight.
Thank you. Any other member? Zadrowitz?
I was definitely happy with how the joint council went. We got to have our ideas heard finally, and everything like we discussed here was heard by someone like of a higher position. I was definitely disappointed by the attendance because it kind of looked bad on us, and they don't get to really see like what we do behind like our meetings and everything. But that was the one time we kind of should have been able to like show them what we do, and we couldn't have.
Thank you. Any other member discussion on that? I do agree with what Member Zadowitz said. That's kind of like the biggest thing. But the only thing to be done about it at this point is there's a lesson to be learned, and I think that you guys have heard it enough today to where you'll understand that it's not just a personal issue, it is looking bad on the whole council. And I really like that part that Member Zadowitz said about that was our chance to show them. And the only thing we can do about that is take that into the future, and at the next joint council meeting, you guys need to make it very prominent that you are the youth council. And as for Member Osinski, I love that idea of acting more of a functioning board than an after-school club. I think that there's a lot more to be done in this city than just projects. And I mean, if you look at our agendas for each meeting, it's just 7 items of projects that we're working on. And for example, the junior project, we haven't really gotten much progress on that. And part of that could be because we're just overwhelmed with stuff to do. And I think that next year, if we implement that and cut down the amount of large projects we're trying to work on and really just focus on maybe 1 or 2, like a short term and a long term, and then have a few city issues you guys want to discuss. And we had last year talked with the Northwest Neighborhood Association about they kind of wanted us to vouch for them on their project, which was the Crystal Lake issues. And I think that there's a lot to be done within the city that you guys can act more of a board as, and then you guys can take that with you to the joint council meeting and present those issues and say, this is what we care about, and this is what we want to change, and this is what we want for our city. Osinski?
Next year, what I would really like to see come from the junior and senior projects is bringing those different aspects of the community that we've partnered with together and incorporating them together and allowing them to interact with each other and being representatives of them, rather than just say doing a mural for the art club, maybe seeing how the art center can do stuff for Special Pops or can do stuff for Lake Kennedy Center, and that we become more of a community service project type thing, rather than just like, oh, let's work with this exclusive organization.
Absolutely, I agree. Is there any other member discussion on that?
Madam Chair? Your comments to each other were very well done, but as a third-party observer of the interaction, both in person and then online, after I had to leave the meeting, I watched the rest online. You guys are superstars, okay? The 5 of you that showed up and interacted with City Council, you interacted with them as your peers. You're talking about interacting with 5 of you, interacting with the 8 leaders of the 7th or 8th largest city and the 3rd largest state in the country. And you really did well. You knocked their socks off. You're intelligent, you're thoughtful, you're engaged. It was special. It was so special that the next one is going to be looked forward to by everyone who plays. I mean, Councilman Hayden said it well when he said the staff in the room started getting excited about the interaction and raised their game. You can make a difference. You really can. You have all the talents you need to change the future of this city. You just got to play. And when you play, you do it damn well. So take that away from this agenda item today. You did extremely well. And you set a bar that we can only grow from. And I think you're going to be seeing City Council and city staff taking you extremely seriously as you interact with any new issues coming forward, because you earn their respect. That's the greatest thing you can do, is earn their respect, and you did. And it was really exciting to watch all of you, the 5 of you, interact with them as peers, which is what I was so hoping it would happen, but it was very, very cool. And I was very proud of all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Mazurkowitz. Is there any other member comments or updates on that? All right, moving along, we'll move to 10D, the junior project continued discussion. I'll now open the floor up for any discussion. Osinski.
Now that we're close to the end of the year, I do have to say that I wish the junior project went a little better than it had. I really wish we could get more involved. And I think at this point, we should really rethink our approach, what we want to do with the art center. Because I think the mural idea, we've tried like resetting the date, we've tried doing all this, I really think it just hasn't worked out. And I think from here we can either try to keep pressing it, or we can try to find new ways to partner with them, or how to help out in that area of the community. So I think what next year the juniors or seniors can do is just, if something's not working, I think sometimes we need to step back and either reassess what approach we're taking to help it, or if we're helping it. And I hope we can find new ways to help the art center, maybe through a different path or down the path of the mural still in the future.
Absolutely, I do agree. I think that the junior project right now, I guess kind of for like the past 2 months, we've been at a standstill with it. It's honestly really up to the juniors right now, because you guys are gonna have to decide if you wanna keep this as your senior project, or if you would like to pick a new project, or, brain fart. So that's kind of where we're at with it, because at the end of the day, it is your guys' responsibility. And this project is gonna be kind of the example that the incoming juniors are gonna look at, and how they're gonna choose their project. So if any of the juniors would like to give any input on what you guys would like to do with that, or any new approach with that, I know we keep putting it off to the next meeting. I know everybody probably wants to get out of here already, but this is something we have to figure out, because if we don't, it's just going to keep dragging on and we're not going to make any progress. So if there's any suggestions. Bernal?
I agree with what has already been said. I think Member Osinski kind of hit it on the head, that we've had a lot happening, and especially with something like this where we're trying to collect submissions, and it's easy to just say, okay, we'll change the date and wait for more. And that's kind of how things got to be tabled to the next meeting. I too am kind of discouraged at how it turned out, and I do want our senior project next year to, really prove to be something effective and try to help some way in our community. I personally struggled with the concept just because I'm not very artistic. I've been to the art center simply because of the project, and I wanted to see, where we'd be painting, that kind of thing. But I, as a student, never frequented really the area all that often. So it was difficult for me to identify with how how I could fit into making this project be effective. So I'm not sure how my fellow junior members would, feel about how we want to proceed. But I do kind of want to, as Member Osinski said, renew our vision and maybe approach this differently. If there's some kind of event that we could do, if there's some kind of hard set date. I feel like with other projects, it was easier to, or I guess not easier, but it was more effective to visualize. When we had the spring gala, it was like, this is the date for our spring gala, and this is what we need to do, and this is kind of, but with something like this, where everything is kind of shades of gray and nothing's set in stone, and we just can keep pushing it back, it's difficult to visualize what we need to get done and enforce that we get it done. So if there was something, I've always admired the work that the Youth Council has done with special populations and guardian angels. And so if there was something like that, where there are events that we could attend, I'm just not sure, where to go from here.
Osinski?
So for the next year, what I would really like to see is, I think the work we did with special populations this year was actually very meaningful. I think we did a lot with them, and I really don't want to lose that disconnect with them. I would love to see maybe towards the end of this year, the start of next year, that we, like I said, mentioned earlier, connect the two of our projects maybe together. And I think the first way to really do that would just to be sit down with people of the Arts Center and people with special pops and have like a conversation with them of what they expect from us and what we expect of them, and kind of like actually get a clear set in stone of how we can help them and what we can do as a council to support them. So I think the first step to bettering the issues that we had this year would actually be to just communicate with the people involved in them, and I would really like to see that next year.
Okay, real quick before Claire. So are you trying to say that you want to kind of incorporate Special Pops and the junior projects so that way Special Pops could possibly assist with that and have a bigger role?
I don't know how I envision it. I would just really like to remain active within the Special Populations Unit, because I think what we did this year was very helpful and meaningful, and we were able to do a lot for them in our role.
Okay. McMillan?
I'm not a junior, so you don't have to listen to what I'm saying, but you guys have that set in stone. We've done the annual gala every year. If you wanted to abandon the idea of creating a whole new project and instead taking our annual gala and making that your own, make it something more where, okay, you want to put Special Pops involved, you want to put the Arts Center involved, put it all together in the gala, make the gala bigger. Maybe that's your project. Find other, there's tons of organizations in the city rather than just Special Pops. Find groups of people that you wanted to incorporate into the gala, make it bigger, because our gala this year was bigger than the one last year, and I know that it has potential to continue to grow. And rather than focusing yourself on a senior project and the gala, because let's be honest, the junior project kind of went away once we started talking about the gala. We couldn't juggle both of them. If you think that's going to be an issue again next year, just focus on one, but make it big and better rather than, having two half projects at the same time.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that that's a very good idea to kind of combine them. I think that one of the largest struggles with this project is actually finding people who want to submit art. And I think that it's very hard, like being on this council and hearing that we need more art submissions and wondering quite where your role lies with that. Like, are other people submitting this poster to their school? Should I be doing it too? Oh, I don't think people are. I'm not going to do it. I see that happening a lot, and I am friends with a few of you like outside of this, so I know we've had similar discussions about like, oh, I've seen this on my school website or I haven't. And I think that an efficient way to get this done would be to approach it as a group. I like the idea of going to the art walk and passing out flyers there. I think it means a lot more if people see your group and your mission, and they hear you and they see you, and they can kind of understand what it is rather than a singular person going. So I think in the future, an approach to where it's a larger group of people actually going out and physically doing the work. I mean, I know online advertising is very big these days, but I have always believed in like, if someone throws a bag of rocks with a lawn card on your driveway, you look at it. It's kind of the same thing. People want the physical paper, and it's just about getting yourselves out there at this point. And I really don't know where to go with this project based on submissions, because we've tried a lot. So I like the idea of restructuring the project, but it is going to be a matter of getting the submissions. So that does 100% fall on the juniors, how you guys would like to go about that. And I think that since this discussion will be moved in the to the next meeting agenda, you guys definitely should have an in-depth conversation about how you'd like to go about that. I think that we have a lot of resources. There are a lot of news stations and newspapers who like to hear about the Youth Council and who are very friendly in their interactions with us. And I think that we're more scared of them than they are of us. And I think that you guys should definitely use those resources and reach out more to them, because even if you shoot them an email and they don't respond, it doesn't hurt anything, because they could respond. And you guys just won't know until you try with that. Bernal?
I guess I just want to clarify, just so I completely understand, because this is my first year on the council, so I want to know what is the traditional progression of ideas. So when at the conclusion of a year, do the juniors traditionally retain the similar project, or is it usually changes?
So the junior project becomes the senior project. Unless you guys want to change it, then it's just renamed senior project under the new project, obviously. And then the junior project is typically left blank until there's a discussion on what you guys want to make your project. I don't know if you guys remember last year, we had people come in and talk about different organizations. And I know that my junior year, we had Special Pops come in and kind of talk to us about their mission. That's kind of when we decided what our project was. You guys are more than welcome to like expand the project or change it in any means that fit your guidelines, but I think that since you guys have made a commitment to the Art Center, it's only right to follow through, and it definitely needs to be, like, not soon, but you guys should definitely start working on it, so that way we're not at this time next year and you guys haven't gotten anything done. You guys have all the resources. I just think we need to work together more and have better communication. I don't really know what means that is, but that's
Madam
just
Chair?
an improvement to be made.
Just to clarify, the chair was absolutely correct. It is totally at the discretion of your class as the juniors move to seniors. They have historically taken it with them, but you don't have to. I also think it may be advantageous to go and interact with the Art Center to explain to them where you are with the process and your frustration, and maybe also bringing in the Special Pops to see if there's something that can work together. Bringing those folks together with one of you who is going to lead the discussion, because I don't want to waste meeting time, our collective meeting time, dealing with these issues. I want somebody to agree to go meet with the Arts Center, talk to them first, talk about where you are, explain your situation, even to share the idea of do we bring Special Pops in and have them help, whatever, and get some input, and then come back and give a report to the group at your next meeting, where you can then ask the group as a whole to make a decision as to where you want to go forward.
I guess my only question would be, do we know who was the original like communications person for this project? Like, who was in communications with the Art Center?
It was originally the other chair, Destiny Spore, but we assigned it to somebody else. Somebody else took ownership of it and reached out to Miss Julie Gerhardt.
Well, that's clear as to that change is where it slipped, and it's irregardless who it was assigned to at this point. Let's someone pick up the ball and take it from here, and I think we can be successful. I don't want to see you drop a project.
Is our hope still to complete it by the end of this year?
I don't know. It's whether it's the end of this year or it's the end of next year, the junior project, you bring it forward, make it your senior project. Even if you want to pick up something else, I don't want to see you fail on something like this. I want to see you complete in some fashion. And the other thing that you were talking about, when you volunteer to do something, sometimes you personally don't have the resources to make it happen or the connections. And don't feel like you have to do it alone. Contact any of the advisors. We have contacts, we can help, and we are here to help you, to assist you in being successful. So use us as a resource to help you when you're not getting, like if your high school principals are not responding to you, or maybe we ask the mayor's administrative assistant rather than your staffer, same person, to contact the people you're trying to get a hold of as the administrative assistant to the executive assistant to the mayor. I mean, that has horsepower. Or we ask the mayor. We can It's not hard to make a phone call. And we can do that. Sometimes people respond to the mayor, maybe even the former mayor. You never know.
Thank you, Mr. Mazurkowitz. So with that being said, is there anybody who'd like to volunteer to be in charge of contacting the Art Center and Special Pops and scheduling a bit of a sit-down to discuss the plans for that? It will have to be one of the juniors, and it has to be someone up here.
Just to see, this is probably an item that could be less because to next meeting, because we have one more junior coming in as a senior. So we have one more person who may be available to want to participate, who's not here now.
Okay.
And then we would have all the juniors who would be facilitating and talking and working on the project moving forward, where half of you will not be this year. So this may be a discussion for next meeting. If we don't have someone if we have someone here who's willing to pick up the ball and run with it, that's fine. If we don't, we can deal with it at our next meeting.
Okay. Are you sure?
I just wanted to continue the discussion. I understand what Mr. Mazurkowitz was saying. I wanted to clarify what our expectation for the project was. I love the idea that Member Osinski brought up of trying to really execute what our vision was for the gala, which was the intertwined theme, and like actually do some work to intertwine some of our community. My only hesitation is I'm not sure how Special Pops would fit into the mural. If we would have like members of Special Pops come help us paint the mural, or like what your vision for that was. I just think that maybe we could establish some kind of idea of what we want to do. I just want to, like, I don't know, have some material thing to put in my mind.
Madam Chair, you don't have to come up with all the ideas.
Okay.
This is a person who is going to go talk to the Arts Center and say, here's where we are, this is what we need. We thought about maybe asking Special Pops, who we also have a relationship with, participate. Can you help me work that out? Let them come up with the idea to help you work it out. You don't have to have all the ideas.
Okay.
Does that work for you?
Yes, definitely. I just want to make sure that I have all the information that I need to do this properly, so I don't mess anything up.
It's not going to be, like Mr. Mazurkowitz said, you don't need to so much focus on the content of the project. It's more of just to provide them an update and see how they can assist us, and we can assist them with the process, and then obviously ask about Special Pops and explain the relationship. I think that there's a lot of room in this project for changes, and I think that once you talk to the Art Center and kind of see where they're at with the project, that will help. Obviously, with the advertising, which led to be our biggest struggle, maybe they'll have some suggestions with that on a better approach and whatnot, but it doesn't necessarily have to be about the content of the project. We just want to keep them informed and in the loop about everything.
Okay, and then Ms. Gillen, do you mind if I come to you after the meeting just to gather contact information and anything?
Absolutely, yes. Let's touch base, and then you and I can work on where we are at that point in stage, because it's been a while, but we actually do have some direction that was on part of our other backup on one of our other meetings, and it'll give you a good idea of where Ms. Gerhardt is leading towards, and then you can take those points, and that's where your discussion can certainly come from.
I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
If you want someone to come help mediate that discussion, call one of us.
Okay.
And also, I would suggest that although we need to get moving on this project, that you could wait until the next meeting. So that way, after the election of the chair and vice chair, whoever's leading the meeting at that point can sort of ask if anyone else wants to assist with that. And I honestly think that having a new member come with you to join the conversation might be beneficial for them, and it'll be like a good teaching moment, I guess, for them. Yeah.
So I'd love to be involved, but if no one objects or has any issue with it, I can wait, and maybe we can retain it a little bit so that an incoming junior can have the experience as well.
Yeah, the next meeting is in, I think, 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's not that long.
Yeah, so once you, I would say, like, if you reach out to her and pick a date, just make sure it's kind of like after that. Okay. Awesome. Anything else? Any other member discussion? Advisor updates on that? All right. Moving along, we have item 10E, senior project continued discussion. We don't really have anything to discuss on this, but Special Pops, as we've talked about, has been a great partner for us. They've been very kind in all of their efforts, and they always give us lots of opportunity to volunteer there. It did kind of work out to where not as many people could make it to the volunteer events as I would have liked for turnout on that. So basically what I'm trying to ask the juniors is that obviously this isn't going to be your project or your main responsibility, but I think that since we've had a great partnership with them in the past, that you guys should still look for opportunities to work with them. And it doesn't have to be a project like we've discussed. We're not looking for big projects, but I think that it's good as a council to get out there and show everyone's faces, and kind of when we do need pictures for stuff like FLC, it's good to have those on hand. And it almost, to me, like when we're consistently volunteering, it doesn't feel like I'm just doing something for a contest or just for the press aspect of it. So that's kind of all I have to say on that. I would just definitely suggest that the juniors try to keep a strong partnership with that and reach out to them and work with them when possible. Is there any other discussion on that? Any seniors who want to make comments? Any advisors who want to make comments? Brunel?
I love the work that Special Pops does in the community. You guys have heard me talk at length about my support for the autism community and everything that stands for, and how much I love that. And so I would love to continue our involvement with that program and with that organization. Even if it's not technically a project, if we could have just on our calendar, you know, I loved when Ms. Grigglin was able to provide us with like the list of dates and events and just actively be there. And honestly, we don't have to I would love to set a set date, like, you know, once quarterly we have an event that we as a council go to. But even if you want to go, you know, with your family or with a couple friends and wear your youth council polo and make connections and just enjoy the community, I think that would be really amazing. So I would love to pursue that in the future. Maybe next year if we, I would love to maybe organize our calendar next year. I'm not sure if that is something that our like tech specialist would be working on, if we can make like a calendar to be sent out every quarter or whatever it is, but of just dates that can be on there. But I really would think that's very valuable for us to do.
I do like the idea of a calendar. I think that a visual is always better, especially when it's on paper. And I mean, I feel like it would help a lot of people. You know, Connie gives us a handout usually at the beginning of each meeting, and even if it was just at the beginning of the month that we were able to implement that each month, I think that it could help to see in front of you like what you have coming up, and like, I mean, it definitely would help in meetings also. So if that's something you guys want to do, I'd definitely at the next meeting bring that up. Any other comments? No? All right. Moving forward, we have item 10F, Lovelock's project continued discussion.
Madam Chair. Okay, I have good news. Insight Engineering and Development Engineering and Planning Company have taken on the project of doing both the site plan work and the structural requirements for wind load. What I need to give them is a location. And to be honest, I forgot. Did you vote to move it to Founders Park? Or do we not have we did not have a quorum? Right. So
We had a consensus, didn't we?
we had a consensus, so we would need a vote if you want to move it to Founders Park. And for those, make sure that everybody understands where Founders Park is.
Okay.
It's on 46th Street Lane, north of the parking lot at Club Square parking lot. It's a small park, and this would be the centerpiece for the park. Insight needs to develop a site plan and a location. If you would allow them to work with the City Parks and Recreation Department to locate the facilities, they would start doing a site plan application and find or get one of their engineers to sign it and develop the anchoring mechanism that would make sure it meets the wind load calculations. So that's all good. So Madam Chair, all we need is a motion to confirm.
A motion?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you want to move it?
Just to give a little more insight on the location of the park, if you guys have ever driven through downtown Cape Coral, if you've ever seen that church that's kind of by Dixie Roadhouse, that has like the playground that you can see like on that road, it's like a street behind that. Personally, I like the location because it's downtown Cape Coral, and I think that as a growing city, that's like an amazing legacy we can leave there. And it is a smaller park, like Mr. Mazurkowitz mentioned, so it is very much the centerpiece of it. So since we kind of did, yes, sorry.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
My only concern, I personally prefer this new alternative park better than our original plan. I just wanted to touch base with Member Reamer that I know we had communicated in the past about the other park, and I want to make sure that we left it off with our communication at that park, that everything was okay, and we might not use that park. I just want to check on where things are there.
Yes, so from last meeting, I did contact Mr. Creed from JC Park, and I discussed about the new location, and he said he was all right with moving the Lovelocks to Founders Park.
Okay. Thank you, Member.
Sorry,
Reamer.
that was all that I had to.
Oh, you're okay. I'm glad you brought that up because I almost forgot until you mentioned it, actually. That was actually one of our concerns last meeting, that Mr. Creed might be a little, not angry, but just kind of like bothered by the fact that we chose a different location. But I'm glad to hear that he doesn't mind. So can I have a motion to make Founders Park the new location for the potential Lovelocks project? Bernal?
I motion to adopt Founders Park as the new location for the Lovelocks project.
Can I have a second? Reamer?
I second the motion.
Bernal made the motion and Reamer made the second. We will now take a voice poll vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. All right. Great work, everyone. Very happy with that. I'm pretty sure that's like, yes.
I just want to ask Mr. Mazurkowitz, did you need the welder by any chance, if you want to make contact with him, or is it just the location?
It's location is big, and then the anchoring of the whole art piece is the only thing that, because it is a piece of art, the ability to do a structural analysis in a piece of art from an engineering standpoint is not necessary.
Okay.
It's just because I had a talk about what we were determining and what wasn't. So we'll just do how it's going to be anchored.
Okay.
And that'll establish the anchoring position, and then a site plan where it goes. Probably some area around it that will be mulch, and then a mulch path up to it. So we're not putting any more impervious material into the park than necessary. So that's the way it's going to work.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited to see where this project goes in the future. I know that we have a lot of great minds working on it up here, and I'm just very excited to see what you guys do with that. Is there any other updates on the Lovelocks project? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 11, next meeting agenda topics. Members, are there any topics to consider? Bernal?
I would say that next meeting we should discuss business items 10D, E, and F.
Okay. Is there any other member input on that? So what I'm going to say is I agree with that, but we're going to have to change the junior project to the senior project, and then the Lovelocks project, which is F, we're going to have to add the election of chair and vice chair, and then we're also going to have to add the junior project to that. And then I would say, just for Shayna, your notes, the election of chair and vice chair should be first on that.
Yeah, we'll do all that.
And then, so is there a motion to add the senior project, the election of chair and vice chair, the junior project, and the Lovelocks project to next meeting's agenda? Bernal?
I motion to adopt the pre-stated agenda topics to our next meeting agenda.
Can I have a second? Zadowitz?
I second that motion.
Yes?
Just for clarity, would the motion maker and second include orientation, Robert's Rules, and sunshine law into that? The orientation for Robert's Rules and sunshine law?
Is that normally
want
an
me to-
agenda item?
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
then yes.
Do you want me to just
no,
update
you
that?
just, if you agree, that's fine.
I agree.
The second agree? There you go.
Okay, perfect.
Clerk's got it. Clerk covers all those kind of silliness things that we get into.
All right, so Bernal made the motion and Zadowitz made the second. We will now take a voice poll vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Moving on to item 12, reports. I will now open the floor up for any reports from youth council members. Bernal?
Okay, so I'm very excited. I know it's been a wild few weeks, and I have talked at length about our autism walk this year. I'm very excited with how it went, and if you weren't able to make it, I really would urge you to listen up for next year, because we're going to make it an annual event. So next year at Norfolk Myers High School, it will be April 1st is our next autism walk. We're going to make it an annual event, and it's just something that I'm very personally attached to and passionate about. And so definitely, keep your ears perked for any updates on that, because I would love to have youth council's involvement if you guys would be interested, and especially the incoming juniors next year. If we want to do a sensory station or something, we could sponsor something like that. But I was just very excited to see the turnout. We had a lot of complications because of COVID and because of everything going on. I had sponsors telling me, hurry up and wait, go for it, but wait a second. So just the execution of it and seeing such a community rallying around something that was just a dream of mine for so long was so amazing. And I really just kind of want to share that with you guys if we want to take a larger position in it next year. But I'm excited to announce that it will be an annual event, so North is going to do it again next year. So that's it.
Thank you. Any other member reports? All right, moving on to item 13, reports of the liaison and staff. Are there any reports of the council liaison, advisors, or staff?
Yeah, to the seniors, thank you. Like I told you, the week of the joint meeting and the gala, that was a great week. You guys shined, made me proud, made this city proud. I know we had our rocky moments, but I've really enjoyed my first year doing this with you all. I really enjoyed getting to know you. I really enjoy watching you interact at the gala, setting everything up, especially using every possible piece of vine that you could and putting it everywhere. It was great to see, picking out plants. So, I learned from you, and that was important. That was important for me. To the chair, thank you for stepping up unexpectedly and really finding your voice. And
Thank you.
Finding and leading this group. That was amazing. To the incoming seniors, you know your expectations, and I want you to think bigger. I told you at the gala that we're going to get back to what the core mission of this group is to be, and that is to plan the future of this city through your eyes. So think bigger. Think about that boardwalk that could go out from Crystal Lake to that piece of property that we own. That's an environmental impact discussion that can take place that benefits the entire community. Think about helping me plan a community town hall that's just for those 18 and under, so that you guys can run that meeting and share ideas with your peers. Think about those things moving forward. We have a good group, and I think we'll improve. The council will approve the next group of incoming juniors at Wednesday's meeting.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Wednesday, May 4th.
And Mr. Mazurkowitz and I were impressed by all 8 of them. 7 juniors, 1 incoming senior, and they will test the incoming seniors. They will be, but they'll want to learn from you, and they'll want you to lead them. But I'm very excited about the mix that we'll have between you all and them. But we stress to them, the first things that came out of my mouth that day was responsibility and commitment, and that you are required to be at these meetings. So they understand from the first minute on that those expectations need to be met. And as I told you all, at one point in these first 2 meetings, I'll ask you who you want to hear from next year. This is for you guys. Mr. Mazurkowitz and our only responsibilities here should be to help guide, offer our input when we can, but this is your stage. This is your time to lead not only this group, but help improve our community. So think about that moving forward, but I'm excited about the first new meeting, and again, for the seniors, thank you for everything that you did.
Thank you, Mr. Hayden, for your kind words. Is there any other updates from any advisors? Ms. Griglin?
Thank you, Chair Young. I kind of want to highlight also what Councilmember Hayden said. Many of you I have, gotten to know for the past 2 years, and we certainly text a lot. That was definitely our form of communication. So I do appreciate everybody in general, but especially the seniors that certainly stepped up to the plate many times when I needed you guys last minute, here, there, whatever the case may be. As much as, we try to teach you guys, you certainly teach us a lot. You may not realize it, but you do. So with that being said, I won't take too much more of the time. I do want you guys to stay afterwards. I'd like to get a group picture together. So I have this year's, and then also take a separate picture with the seniors. I also do have some cake and juice outside, so don't go any further. But I did want to recognize the seniors. You guys all know them, but I'll go ahead and announce it. Member Delaney Blackwell, obviously, who couldn't be here today. Chair Kylie Young. Member Claire McMillan. Member Sarah McGonigal Hall. And last but not least, our member Jimin Lin, hope I pronounced your name correctly. And I also would like, in addition to that, she actually had perfect attendance. So I do want to recognize that, up here today. I think that's very important. I know that she wasn't here for the entire time, but when she was appointed in December, so from the start of January to today's date, she did not miss a meeting. So I think that's very important, and I think that deserves a round of applause. All right, so with that being said, if you guys want to come down, I'd like to take a quick picture with you guys.
Chair, go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Next is time and place of future meetings. The next meeting of the Cape Coral Youth Council is scheduled for Friday, May 13th at 3 p.m. in council chambers. Do I have a motion to adjourn? For now?
I motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Can I have a second? McMillan. All right, Bernal made the motion, McMillan made the second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. This meeting is now adjourned.